no campus visits. You didn't go traveling the state to look at campuses. And I just thought, well, I should go here or there. And I thought I should go here if I got in because I have an older brother who went to Cal. I have two older sisters who went to Cal. And so when I got accepted here, I just thought, well, I should go here. So I did. One of the reasons I think I got in is because I applied as a physics major. And because I took physics in high school and liked it, and I thought, well, and I liked math. So I thought, well, you know, I should do this. So I got here, was taking some prerequisites, which were difficult, to say the least. I think the physics lectures had like 600 students or something like that. It was just an enormous class. And I was looking around for alternate classes to take. And I came in right after the Third World Strike. So I started taking classes in January of 1970. And I thought, what is this Asian studies? You know? And I grew up in a Japanese community. But I didn't think of myself as Asian particularly. And so I thought, well, this looks interesting. I'll take this Introduction to Asian American Studies class. And basically it changed my life. It changed the direction of my life. I thought, well, this is something that's not only interesting, but relevant to me. And so that's what I did. And I started with that class. I took conversational Japanese. I took all the classes that I could. At that time, there was not a departmental major. So I thought, well, what can I do? And there was an individual major option. So I took that. And that's what I graduated. The offices, as Evelyn was saying, and most of my classes were in Dwinell Hall here. So I'm glad that we stayed here instead of walking over to Sproul because in between classes, we would come out here and sit and, you know, wait for the next class. And a lot of young Asian students walking around. And that was a lot of fun. So in 69 and 70, there were a lot of protests against the Vietnam War, of course, and we participated in that as well. And I remember one time, down Bancroft Avenue, there were just hundreds of students walking down the street and protesting and chanting and stuff. But it wasn't all, you know, we had fun as well. So there's a lot of young people, and as young people do, they like to socialize. One of the other things that I remember is that in the auditorium on the top floor of the Student Union building, they would have these dances, and there would be hundreds and hundreds of young Asian students, and you would walk in, and they'd be playing probably soul music with the bass just booming away, and it was just fun to be there. So that was one of the other things. One of the focuses of Asian studies at that point was trying to connect students to the communities in the Bay Area, the Asian communities in the Bay Area. And because they thought, you know, in order to get a true education in Asian studies, you need to look at the communities and see what's going on. And also they wanted people to help in the community. And so in 1970, there was a gathering of about 50 students, not just from Cal, but San Francisco State, I think San Jose State, and maybe Hayward as well. And we met at somebody's house, I remember, and that's actually what started the East Bay Japanese Reaction that became J-Sei eventually. And at that time, we felt like the Japanese American institutions, especially in the East Bay, were not doing very much to help the Issei. And so we wanted to do that, and one of the first things that we did was we took them on field trips. So I think we went to Angel Island, we went to Kelly Park in San Jose, and here and there. And to me it was really gratifying because most of them were women, their husbands had died at that point, and a lot of them did not drive. And so we either took them in cars or we rented some buses at some point. And to see them so happy to see their friends and talking with each other, that was really nice for us. And so an extension of that was we started working with the Berkeley Senior Center, and we started a time where the Issei could get together then, and they did some arts and crafts and stuff. And eventually it moved on to housing and other services. And now J-Sei has just done a terrific job of continuing to offer programs and assistance to help the elderly. There's two more things I wanted to mention. When I was here, I worked with Professor Ron Takaki, and he introduced me to Toshio Mori, who was a Nisei writer. And we were doing this project. He said, I want you to do some primary research. And so maybe somebody like Toshio Mori. And my first thought was, I had read his book. I thought, is he alive? Then I thought, how do I find somebody like this? There's no internet. And so I said to myself, and I think I said to Ron, so what, do I just look him up in the phone book? And so, in fact, he was listed in the phone book. He was living in San Leandro, and I went to meet him and his wife. They were very gracious, and started a long friendship. I interviewed him, and that interview was eventually published in a publication in an anthology called Counterpoint.
See?
From UCLA.
You stick with it.
And I got to know Toshio for quite a few years.
What country it is.
And that also kind of segues into another project that I did with Ron that includes Kimi's sister, Mia, as well as Keiko Kubo. And we did a project where we went to the Oakland Museum and we had a symposium of artists and writers who had produced work in the camp. And you know, we were still pretty young then. We really didn't know too much about what we were doing. We kind of just did what Ron said, oh, you should do this and do that. But it turned out to be a pretty significant event for us. The last thing I wanted to mention was there were a lot of creative efforts going on at the same time. And I played guitar from when I was a teenager. And got together with friends here and there. And eventually started a band. And one of our inspirations was this group called Chris and Joanne. And they were Asian American movement singers. And so they sang about the struggle of Asian Americans. And we wanted to do the same thing. So we were a little younger, and we produced this album called Yokohama, California, which a few years ago I converted into a CD. And we sang songs about ourselves, our identities, our community, and political aspects. And I just happened to have brought a few copies to the Jodo Shinshu Center. And if you are interested, I ask that you make a donation to any one of the organizations that sponsor this project. So that's about what I wanted to say. Are there any questions or